Hello, I'm Reverend Michael Mugford, and I'm part of the ministry team at Harbour Woodside United Church. Today I want to share with you some thoughts around the theme of lament. We read in the book of Lamentations, "The hearts of the people cry out to the Lord. You walls of daughter Zion, let your tears flow like a river, day and night. Give yourself no relief, your eyes no rest. Arise, cry out in the night, as the watches of the night begin. Pour out your heart like water in the presence of the Lord. Lift up your hands to him for the lives of your children, who faint from hunger at every street corner." In the year 587 before the Common Era, and in the months that followed that, after a lengthy siege, the king Nebuchadnezzar and his armies broke through the walls of Jerusalem. And in the city they slaughtered the hungry inhabitants. They seized the power brokers of the society, the priests, king and court, scribes and accountants. They herded them west toward Babylon. The great majority of the city dwellers were left to fend for themselves. And as a result, the economy quickly collapsed. Food sources disappeared. Water sources were fouled. The daily rhythms of life ceased. People wandered the streets dazed, confused, desperate for a bit of bread or a cup of water. The city became unsafe as any semblance of order was replaced by chaos. All of these realities are suggested by the poems that make up the chapters of Lamentations. A reading of these chapters is a hard and painful task, as image after image of dread and panic swims into the mind. But it is out of this enormous, tragic event that Lamentations is born. Inuma Okoro, writing specifically about women and lament, writes this: "We do not talk about lament much, aloud anyway. The periodic loss of center in which we might find ourselves, the necessary conversations and attempts at understanding swirl endlessly and mercilessly in our heads and our hearts. How do we," she asks, "as women, learn to name our sorrows, to acknowledge the scripturally faithful practice of lament? What good can come of it? And what needed proclamation can naming our sorrows provide? How do we," she says, "as women encourage, embolden, and support one another to do the oftentimes difficult and risky task of naming things aloud that cause us emotional, mental, and spiritual ache?" Well, we're in that place again, aren't we? We're not a month from the mass shootings in Port-au-Prince. We're a scant 3 weeks from the tragic crash of the Canadian Cyclone helicopter in the Mediterranean, with Sub-Lieutenant Abigail Cowborough and her comrades being lost. And now we're mourning yet another tragic loss in our province with the death of snowbird pilot Captain Jennifer Casey. And there are so many people asking, how much more can this small province take? Which is, in and of itself, a form of lament. We are lamenting and grieving. We in the West seem to take our grief and process it inwardly, and we tend to do that alone. But there are many cultures around the world, including the culture in which Jesus grew up, where lament and grief are very demonstrative and communal. At several of the death stories found in the Gospels, the raising of Lazarus, Jairus' daughter, for example, there is a communal gathering, particularly of the women, to mourn death. There's a deep need to express pain and to hold one another as God holds us. We have lamented in this province. We have had vigils and flowers. We have had signs and photos. We have seen a growing sentiment of Nova Scotia Strong on signs and stickers. All of these point to a desire for us to be able to publicly express the depths of the sorrow that's in our souls. We may or may not have had a personal connection with those who have died or their loved ones. but we share in that grief as a society. It's being felt and expressed by all of us. It isn't merely something we can do, but rather something we should do. We need to do. We need to cry out to the air, to the world around us, to God, and share the depths of the pain in our souls. It's the right thing for us to do, and in doing so, we can trust that God will always be with us, always weep with us, always mourn with us, always walk with us in grief and in bereavement. I find great hope, and I offer it to you today in the words of our United Church Creed, which closes by reminding us that in life, in death, in life beyond death, God is with us. We are not alone. Peace to you this day.